Hey guys, Sam here from EDMProd, and in this tutorial we're going to be looking at 4 different ways, 4 different tips or techniques that you can add to your sound design knowledge to add different characteristics to the sound and just sort of improve your skill overall. So they're not very common techniques. If you're more experienced as a producer, you probably have implemented them before and have used them, but as a newer producer, you might learn something. So the first one is there's 2 tips that come under this, and it's how do you add more transient to your sound. So I've got a simple pluck here. I'm just going to play it for you. Now that has definitely got transient itself, but what if we want some more? What if we want a little bit of high-end transient to that? There's 2 ways we can do this. The first one is adding a short stab of white noise. So I'm going to show you how to do that first of all. So the first thing I'll do is turn on the noise section here, and it's already on with this patch. And I'm going to turn the color, leave the color all the way to the right, and leave the amp down here. I'm just going to delete this. Here we go. I'm going to find an unused envelope in massive. This one here, it doesn't look like it's being used. Sorry. And I'm going to have the attack all the way down, the level all the way down, in a very short decay curve, which is cool. So I'm going to grab this and modulate the amp to around halfway. And that should give a very short sort of stab, short white noise stab. Then I'm going to play around with these filter mix settings until I get the sound I want. I have to apologize for my cold also. My voice might sound a little weird. I'm just going to play this. So that sounds okay, and you get that little bit of high in there, a bit more transient to the sound. So this is what it sounds like with it. This is what it sounds like without. So that's the first sort of technique or tip that you can use in your sound design. Now the second one I'm going to use the same patch for, and it's another way to add a bit of transient and change the characteristic of the sound, and it is pitch modulation. So that basically means affecting the pitch of an oscillator with an envelope, just like you do with this cutoff filter here. So what I'm going to do is use the same envelope I used for the noise, drag it up here all the way to 64. You don't need to go to 64, and it should change the sound. It might be a little bit too much, so I'm going to just have a listen first. As you can hear, that's not very desirable. So I'm going to turn this decay down quite a lot. And you can hear that it sort of changes there. So this is what it sounds like without. And this is what it sounds like with. Sorry. And you can, of course, adjust the level of that with this decay knob. If you have it too high, it won't sound nice at all. If you have it too low, you won't notice difference. So that's the second tip. Now moving on from that, we've got a different sort of set of tips. So this one here is using Alfo pitch modulation to sort of add a different characteristic and completely change the sound, in fact. And you'll hear this in a lot of trance tracks with those big leads. So I'm going to play the sound first of all without any modulation. And as you can see here, it's just a simple saw wave. Yeah, so it's not that exciting. But what if we used Alfo pitch modulation just like we did before, except with not with an envelope, with an Alfo, on this oscillator 1. Now, what I'm going to do is drag this 5 Alfo onto OC1 and modulate the pitch by around 7 or 8. You don't want it to be by too much or it would just sound weird. What I'm going to do now is turn the amp down on here because we don't want it affecting the full amount. I'm going to turn it down to around here and then adjust this rate knob until I find the sweet spot. So you can hear the sort of effect that has. Sounds a lot different to not having it on at all. A lot more exciting. So without it and with it. It's a little bit of trial and error when it comes to things like this. There's no set amount that it has to be. But obviously if you put it too high, you won't really notice it. You can there. If you put it too low, it's going to sound weird. So it's about finding that sweet spot. And if you put the amp too high, you don't want to do that. And the final tip I have is a little bit of a different one. And it's using 2 envelopes, 2 filter cutoff envelopes. So we've got the basic sound here. Simple bass, pretty boring. But what if we added a 3rd envelope to this? So I've got this main envelope here, and I've got a 3rd envelope that has a very short decay, and this is what it sounds like. So basically the main envelope here has got a slower attack and a long decay, and it's modulating here, as you can see, number 2. The 3rd envelope has a very fast attack and a shorter decay, and that's modulating up a little further, so you get more of that high end in there. So in a way it does add transient, but it's sort of a bit more than transient. It's almost like 2 sounds laid on top of each other, which is kind of cool, and a technique that I don't see everybody using. So I hope some of these helped. If you've got any tips that you'd like to offer, then just let me know. You can make your own video and post it on here, or just leave it in the comment section so other people can see it. Yeah, thanks for watching.